Okay, so let me create one more servlet here. Okay, so this is servlet demo. I just do copy paste. How we're gonna see? Yeah, let's mark it as servlet demo 2. So I'll mark this as servlet demo 1. How to access context parameters, right? That's what I'm gonna show here. Okay, so first let's go to web.xml file. Here let me add init parameter, right? Init icon param. So param name, param value. Sorry, it's not param. Second param value. Okay, and here I will give name, and name I will give as Sunil Tanaka. This is one init parameter, right? This is for servlet demo 1. Yeah, when I say servlet 1, that request goes to servlet demo 1. Okay. Let me copy paste. This is servlet demo 2, right? The name should be different. Demo servlet 2, demo servlet 2, and the URL mapping also servlet 2. Okay. And here I will give a different name. Okay. I will give okay, or else if it is some state, something like that, right? If it is something you can consider like state of Telangana, you give district as sorry, capital as Hyderabad, and the second servlet something you consider like Andhra Pradesh or Tamil Nadu, you give the district as capital as Chennai, something like that. Okay, so yeah, it's a servlet demo 2, not 3. Yeah, servlet demo 2, servlet demo 3. We are passing different init parameters, but I'll pass one context parameter, right? So the parameter name, yeah, we will change it anyway. Capital, okay, so capital is Hyderabad. And second demo servlet capital is Chennai. CHENNAI, right? Chennai. Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
So this is context param like country capital, right? So capital param value Delhi. Okay. So this is what we can configure. So this context param, right? This capital can be accessed from servlet 1 and servlet 2. But whereas this capital, right? This demo servlet capital 1 Hyderabad is applicable only for servlet. And when it goes to another servlet, right? So here the capital is Chennai. So that's okay. So now let's go to the application. Yeah, go to servlet. And if I want to access this, right, access the init parameter inside my get method, what should we do? We should get first object of servlet config.
Config.
Yeah.
And then context.
Yeah. First you get the config object dot get param, get init param. So the param name is capital, right? Capital. So for servlet demo 1, what is the capital we configured? Hyderabad, right? Hyderabad. So when you call get servlet config, get init parameter, you will get the init parameter which is configured, right? So which is configured. So I just print this directly, system.out.println. So you're gonna get Hyderabad, right? So you access through servlet config, which means that is servlet init parameter. Servlet init parameter. To access context parameter, Okay, you call get servlet config dot get servlet context dot get init parameter. Okay, so the same code I'll just copy and put it in the second servlet. Run as server. Next, finish. Oh, for load and startup, we didn't give any value. I think there was some kind of exception. Let's go to browser and try. MVC. Okay. So localhost 8080, the context path is servlet hyphen demo slash context path is servlet hyphen demo, and the servlet path is servlet one, right? So slash servlet one 404. Okay, there is some problem. We're deploying this service, right? Yes. Let's stop this and give some load and startup time. So 1 and 2. This external server is killing the system like anything. Okay. Yeah, let it load. Okay. So if you just run that, when we send servlet 1, we see the on the console Hyderabad and Delhi printed. When we go to servlet 2, Chennai and Delhi printed. Okay. So yes, now it is ready. The server is ready. Let's run, finish. We gave the load and startup, right? So you should see that configuration. Yeah, so the servlets are ready. Let me servlet one. You see, Hyderabad printed, Delhi printed. Init parameter, Hyderabad, context parameter, Delhi. If I go to servlet 2, so that particular servlet init parameter, Chennai, and context parameter, Delhi. So context parameter can be shared, right? It can be shared across multiple servlets. So if you get such a kind of requirement, we do use we do use that. Anyway, while discussing Spring MVC, we will come to know this init parameter and servlet parameter. Okay. So this is what a servlet context parameter and config parameter. He wants to see that demo. Yeah, that's why I covered this. Okay. Yeah, let's come back to Spring. Let's come out of this servlet. I hope you remember whatever we discussed: servlet lifecycle, and everything. Now we're gonna jump into Spring MVC, not Spring Boot MVC. First, we will cover Spring MVC. So as we already know, right? As we already discussed this for so many times, there are two projects. One is Spring Framework, and another one is Spring Boot. So for Spring, yeah, Spring Framework has so many modules. So we're gonna learn now Spring Web Servlet, right? And WebVC, right? Web Servlet, which is nothing but Spring MVC. So this is the documentation we're gonna learn as part of Spring MVC. Okay. So yeah. So but before that, before we jump into this, we should know the basic fundamentals. What is HTTP protocol, servlet lifecycle, what is init parameter, context parameters, right? Those things you should, because when we start Spring MVC, we will not be learning what is servlet, right? So if you don't know servlet and coming directly to MVC, then you will not understand fully. Okay. Yeah. So Spring MVC, it all starts with a servlet which is written by Spring called the dispatcher servlet. You know, the main hero for Spring MVC is dispatcher servlet. For this entire movie, the hero is dispatcher servlet. Okay. So this is already written by Spring people. What you have to do, you just need to configure. You just need to configure. If you are using servlet 2.5, how are we going to configure our servlet?
XML configuration.
Exactly. It's going to be
Web.xml.
web.xml configuration.
Yeah.
The same story. If you are using Spring 2, sorry, Servlet 2.5, your dispatcher servlet has to be configured in web.xml file. Like how we configured our servlet in the web.xml file, the same way you have to configure. But somewhat this is legacy, somewhat this is legacy. If you see any project which is developed few years before, you do see that kind of configuration. Okay, but the latest is Java configuration, right? So when you just go through, I mean, when we go through this material documentation, then you see two types of configurations. Okay, one is a Java configuration and another one is a XML configuration. Let me scroll down. Yeah, so here you see, right? Yeah, this is the web.xml file configuration, right? So you have to configure org Spring Framework Web Servlet dispatches. ORG Spring Framework Web Servlet dispatches. Okay, init parameter, and here you need to specify. Here you need to specify where is your configuration. Where is your configuration? But actually, you just look at this. Look at this. Init param name. He didn't give the value, right? He didn't give the Spring configuration value here. He is passing Spring configuration as a context parameter. Context parameter. So a bit confusion here, right? A bit confusion here. So which means not only dispatcher servlet, there is some other servlet is there in your application. Not only dispatcher servlet, there is some other servlet is there. So when you want to use this configuration across multiple servlets, dispatcher servlet and some other servlet, maybe message dispatcher servlet, like that. There are some other servlet is there, and you want to share this configuration across multiple servlets. Then you configure it as a context parameter. That's what is the example just now we saw, right? Context parameter capital is Delhi, going to be shared across multiple states, right? And the same way, when you configure context parameter, which means it's going to be shared across multiple servlet. But I'm strictly speaking, whenever it is a plain MVC, web MVC application, the servlet is dispatcher servlet. On top of that, you build something. On top of that, if you build something, then you go for context parameter configuration. Most of the times we don't do this. You will pass your XML configuration as part of, right, servlet init parameter only. So don't get confused. This is something like a little advanced, so where you do multiple servlet configurations. But anyway, in microservices we don't do that. It's going to be the dispatcher servlet configuration only. Most probably in microservices and Spring Boot we don't do this. We don't do this configuration at all. If it is not Spring Boot application, then only how to do. If it is Spring Boot application, these things will be taken care automatically by the Spring Boot. These things will be taken care automatically by the Spring Boot. But again, I'm saying this is for Servlet 2.5 version. When the Servlet 2.5 version we are using, that time you do write web.xml file. If it is a Servlet 3.0 configuration, if it is Servlet 3.0 configuration, the configuration looks something like this. Okay, yeah. The configuration looks something like this. Yes. Okay. The configuration looks something like this. Okay. Web application initializer. You write a class which implements web application initializer. This is from Spring. Okay. Configuration class implements web application initializer. Yeah, it is acceptable. The configuration can be configured through Spring implementation, not the business logic model classes. Configuration classes can implement Spring configuration. It is acceptable. Somewhat it is acceptable. And you have to override on startup method. You have to override on startup method, and inside this method, you have to create, right? You have to configure dispatcher servlet. You have to configure dispatcher servlet, right? So this is what we will do if it is a Java configuration. This is what we will do if it is a Java configuration. configuration. We will see two examples. One is with the XML configuration, one with the Java configuration. Okay, dispatcher servlet configuration to web.xml file. One example with Java configuration. Two examples we will see. But anyway, whenever you are using Spring Boot, right? Spring Boot, not plain Spring Boot. Spring, right? Not plain Spring. When we use Spring Boot, you no need to do all those things. Spring Boot will automatically do this for you. Okay, where is that code is present and how the Spring Boot is going to do that, I will show you. But anyway, this is for your idea purpose. I am just showing you, right? To write any RESTful web services, you no need to have this knowledge, but just for your information purpose, I am showing this. In Spring Boot, we don't do this. If it is not a Spring Boot application, then only you have to do. Okay, if it is Spring Boot will do all this configuration for you, right? Spring Boot will do all this configuration for you. So the first step, okay, there are so many ways we can configure this. So the very first step, I'm talking about Spring MVC, not Boot, Spring MVC. In Spring MVC, what you have to do, yeah, I will put multiple cases here. What is the case here? If you are using Servlet 2.5 configuration, then the dispatcher servlet, right, has to be configured in web.xml file. If it is servlet 2.5, then dispatcher servlet has to be configured in web.xml file, right? Just whatever we saw an example yesterday, the same way you can configure this dispatcher servlet. You can configure this dispatcher servlet. And as we are already learning, right? When we started Spring, almost like 10 since 10, I mean, almost like 10 days before we started. When we start Spring, since day one, we are writing some configuration, right? XML configuration, Java configuration, right? Something we are trying, right? So what you have to do whenever you are playing with Spring Servlet 2.5 XML, Servlet 2.5, then it's going to be an XML configuration. This is going to be an XML configuration. Your applications, right? Application Spring configuration, application Spring configuration should be configured through servlet init parameter. Okay, but it can be configured using context parameter also, no doubt at all. You can configure init parameter or, right, through servlet init parameter or servlet context parameter, servlet init parameter or servlet context parameter. So anything it's fine. Any way you can configure, no doubt. The only difference is if you configure as init parameter, the scope is up to only dispatcher servlet. In microservices, we will have only dispatcher servlet. So init parameter is fine. Anyway, it is a Spring Boot application. You don't do this. Okay, you don't do this. Spring Boot will do that. Okay, Spring Boot. Anyway, Spring Boot won't use XML configuration. It does only Java configuration. Okay, so that is for Servlet 2.5. If you are using Servlet 3.0, the things are little different. We have to configure dispatcher servlet only. Yes, it is a dispatcher servlet configuration, but it is not web.xml file. It is not a web.xml file. You're gonna configure, right? You will configure dispatcher servlet through web application initialization, web application initializer, right? You gonna configure dispatcher servlet through web application initializer. So how are you gonna configure application configuration file? So in the web.xml file, we are configuring through init parameter or context parameter. That's how we are passing our Spring application configuration. But when it is coming to Servlet 3.0, the configuration, again, it can be multiple configurations, right? You can write XML configuration, Java configuration, or annotation configuration. Yeah. So you can configure something like this. If it is a Java configuration, again, okay. If it is XML configuration, okay, then you have to create XML web application context. Okay, you have to create XML web application context, and here you have to configure the XML file. Right here you need to give the XML configuration file path. Okay, there are so many ways you can configure. That's why we are getting confused here. But anyway, when we go to Spring Boot, we don't do that. Okay, we go to Spring Boot, we don't do that. It's a plain direct default Java configuration, right? Yeah, if it is a Java configuration, yeah. So Spring Boot does this, right? Spring Boot does this Servlet 3.0, and it does the Java configuration. So when it is a Java configuration, it is not XML application context. It is annotation web
Config.
application context. No, annotation config application
Oh,
context. This is a web
yeah.
application.
Okay.
Annotation web application context, and here while creating application context itself, you can pass the configuration, or you first create it like this, right? You first create object, then you do register the configuration. You do register. Okay, application context. The application context, you assign this to application. All these are implementations, right? So you can assign that to interface, and you can call this register. This is also fine. Or while creating context itself, you can, yeah, you can pass that config class. Okay, anything, it's fine. So Spring Boot does this, right? Spring Boot does this B2. So Spring Boot does Servlet 3.0 configuration, and it by defaultly enables Java configuration. By defaultly enables Java configuration. Okay. So Spring Boot will automatically do this for you. You no need to do any extra configuration. You directly write RESTful web services. But whenever it is not a Spring Boot application, then you have to choose, right? You have to choose what approach you are going. So if you are going with the Servlet 2.5, then you have to configure dispatcher servlet, and by defaultly the configuration starts with an XML configuration, right? That XML configuration will be configured through servlet init parameter or servlet context parameter. Yeah, if it, I mean, that is for servlet 2.5, and for servlet 3.0, the dispatcher servlet will be configured through web application initializer, and again the application Spring configuration configured in two ways. If it is an XML configuration, we do XML web application context. If it is Java configuration, we do annotation web application context. Okay, so we will see two examples. We will see two examples. Okay, and I'm again telling you, this is not Spring Boot application. This is Spring MVC, right? This is plain Spring MVC. Okay, next I will show you Spring Boot MVC. Then you will understand the benefit what you're gonna get. You know, your yesterday we started servlet, right? Yesterday we started servlet, but when it is coming to Spring MVC, you no need to write the servlet. It is already written by Spring Boot. You just configure the dispatcher servlet as a front controller, right? What design pattern you have to follow? You have to follow front controller design pattern. Okay, I will tell what is this front controller design pattern in next few minutes. But anyway, yeah, for now you just think, okay, you are configuring dispatcher servlet as front controller, and again that configuration is going to be in two ways. One is 2.5. If it is servlet 2.5, it is a web.xml file configuration. If it is servlet 3.0, then it is a Java configuration. Okay, and again after that, again you have to pass your Spring configuration. If it is servlet 2.5, then we will configure the configuration through XML. So either you can pass that XML configuration as init param or context param. When it is coming to servlet 3.0, that dispatcher servlet configuration, I mean that our XML Spring configuration can be two ways. One is XML configuration or Spring Java configuration. If it is an XML configuration, that has to be configured through XML web application context. If it is Java configuration, that has to be configured through annotation web application context. Okay, we will see two examples. 2.5 model, 3.0 model, 2.5 model, 3.0 model. Then later we will jump into Spring Boot, right? You will see the amount of code which is going to be reduced if you write Spring Boot application, right? If it is not a Spring Boot application, how much code you have to write? If it is Spring Boot application, how much code you have to write? Then that we will see. Okay. So Spring Boot MVC we will create freshly, but Spring MVC I will show you the project which is already written. Okay. Yeah, because our intention is learning Spring Boot, right? Not MVC. That's why I will show that example. Just closing this servlet demo. Spring MVC XML configuration. Any doubts, please stop me and ask then and there. I will try to go as much as slow. If I'm going a bit fast, just let me know.
Sunil, one question. There was one listener config, right? Like active in Git web.xml. If you go about
Context loader listener.
yes. So what is the use of this?
Whenever you are configuring as a context parameter, this configuration will load through this listener. Okay, you have to configure that. Anyway, we don't do that. You know, in most of the Spring MVC applications, we don't configure 2 to 3 servlets. So this is for any framework creation, right? This configuration Spring is showing. If you are working any framework creation, that time you may configure more than one servlet. But in the microservices architecture, we will not configure more than one servlet. It is going to be only one servlet, that is the dispatcher servlet. And moreover, you no need to worry about this configuration also. Spring Boot will automatically takes care about that configuration. But anyway, yeah, it's good question. Yeah, whenever you configure a context parameter, right? Whenever you configure a context parameter, that time you have to configure this listener. Context loader listener will take care about loading this configuration, and this configuration can be accessed through multiple servlets. Okay, dispatcher servlet, and if you are writing some other servlet, there also you can access that configuration, Spring configuration. Okay.
Okay, Sunil.
Yeah. This looks like mostly like our servlet application only. Okay. So we have pom.xml file. So in the pom.xml file, as we're going to use Spring MVC, you have to add Spring MVC jars, right? I'm using Spring version 5.0.2. Okay. These things you have to take care by yourself, adding the dependencies. So what are all the dependencies we needed? We need context jar, we need web MVC jar, we need web jar, we need servlet API jar. Okay. So at least these 4 dependencies you have to add. Just expand the Maven dependencies. Okay, it is not visible here. Just go to properties, Java build path, libraries. You just expand the Maven dependencies. There are around like 10 to 15, 5 to 10 jars are required, right? Context, AOP, beans, core. So these 4 will automatically added through context. We added only context, but AOP, beans, core will automatically added, right? So you no need to focus much over there. Yeah, you just see the JCL and expression will also be added by context. Web MVC we added, web we added, servlet we added. Right? So adding the dependencies, what are all the jars you needed, those should be added by the developer when he is doing a native Spring MVC. But anyway, you don't do this. Okay, in microservices, you directly do the Spring Boot. Spring Boot will take care adding the dependencies. Okay. Yes. So this is one thing you have to do. So first thing is adding the dependencies in the pom.xml file. Yeah, that is the first step. You have to add Spring MVC dependencies. And second step is go to webinf web.xml file, webinf file. Yeah, you have to configure dispatcher servlet. Yeah, servlet name, servlet class, load and startup. Yes, and on top of that, you need to pass your configuration file, right? Your configuration file. The key name, init parameter key name is always context config location. This is not user defined. This is predefined. So the key name always context config location. So by using this by using this parameter, we will instruct Spring saying that here is my application configuration file, right? So here we kept our application configuration file. So our Spring configuration will be present here, right? So we are using annotations, context component scan, and we are enabling Spring MVC. We are enabling Spring MVC feature. Okay, just park this view resolver later. Just park this view resolver later. We will discuss this here. Okay. So we are enabling context component scan. This is nothing new. This we already learned. Component scan, right? All the component controller, those annotations will be registered automatically. Component scan, component controller, service, repository, right? All these annotations will automatically um, register. Okay, and MVC annotation driven, which means we are enabling MVC. We are enabling MVC for our project. Okay, yeah, at least you have to write minimal, very minimal configuration, right? To these two tags you have to configure. So you have to pass that file name as an init parameter, right? Dispatcher servlet init parameter, and the parameter name is always context config location. And as I said, right, earlier, you have to configure your dispatcher servlet as friend controller, which means every request which is coming to your application. What is the friend controller design pattern? Every request which is coming to your application should go through this servlet only. Then you call that as a friend controller, right? What is the friend controller design pattern? Every request which is coming to your application should pass through this dispatcher servlet. So that's how you have to do your URL pattern. You have to do your URL pattern. So here is my domain name .in, right? .in. So every request which is coming to .in will goes to dispatcher servlet. So every request which comes to my application will end. That request will end with the .in. Then it all the requests which are coming to my application will go to dispatcher servlet, or else you just give slash. So every request will by default go to dispatcher servlet. Every request by default goes to dispatcher servlet. Okay, so this URL pattern you have to configure in a such a way every request should go to dispatcher servlet. So that is what is a friend controller design pattern. So every request first it goes to dispatcher servlet only. So that's how you must configure. You have to configure dispatcher servlet as a friend controller, which means you have to do proper URL pattern, right? You have to do a proper URL pattern mapping in the web.xml file. So there are totally 3 steps we discussed. First is adding the dependencies. Second is making dispatcher servlet as friend controller in the web.xml file. And the third thing is writing the Spring configuration, right? Spring configuration. Okay, so these 3 things you have to do, and passing that configuration file as a init parameter to dispatcher servlet, right? These 3 things minimum these 3 things you have to do whenever you are using servlet 2.5. Okay, if you are working on any old application, Spring old application, and before the Spring Boot coming into the market and before the Spring Boot getting popular, so there are few projects. Maybe the project which was written in 2010s or 2015s, you might see this kind of configuration. Okay, so this is what you have to do in a configuration perspective. So first one is adding the dependencies. Second one is configuring the dispatcher servlet as friend controller. Third thing is writing the Spring configuration file and passing the configuration file as an init parameter to dispatcher servlet. Okay, these 3 things you have to do if you are using servlet 2.5 model. Somewhat this is purely legacy. Now nobody is doing this. Okay, at least now you are writing the project. For sure you don't do this. Okay, yes. Now let's go to the Java configuration. We are done with application configuration. Now you start focusing on writing controllers, right? So till now we are writing a main method application. So from today we are not going to use the controller. We are not going to use the main method. It's going to be controller, right? In servlet it is do get do post. In its Spring MVC it is controller. Spring MVC, it is controller or REST controller. Controller or REST controller. Okay. So yeah, so I will tell you the difference between controller and REST controller. But first of all, what we will do, yeah, first we will try with the REST controller. Okay, first we will try with the REST controller. REST controller, and I will comment this view result. Okay, we will discuss this later. This is also somewhat legacy. No one is using view resolvers these days. Okay, that I will cover later. Okay, and I'm telling you, Spring MVC is such a huge, massive content. You know, there are so much information, so much versions, so much variations we have. Okay, so I will cover all. Don't get confused. Anyway, in the real time, you do use only one model that we will try in microservices development, right? What is the real time? How you gonna start from scratch? How we do start and how do you write and all? We will see. But anyway, these and all almost legacy. Nobody is using. Why I'm teaching you all these things? Maybe you get a chance to work on any application which was written in 2010 and 2015. When you look into that application, you're not supposed to get confused. Okay, but anyway, in the real now any project which is developing like since 2 to 3 years, right, like onwards, nobody is using this model. It's like legacy and almost deprecated in the market. Okay, so I'll send hello request. I'll send hello request. Then I will get some message, right? Hello printed, right? And I'll send hi request. Then I will get another message. So what I will do, instead of returning this string, I will show this information in some JSP, right? Instead of showing this in the yeah, in the screen directly, I will show these details in some JSP file. So there is one hello.jsp was written. See this hello.jsp, right? Whatever the message we're gonna return from this controller, this message will be displayed here. This is the regular expression, JSP regular expression. Now no JSP, nothing in there. Okay, yeah. In RESTful web services and microservices, no JSP is nothing. Right, we will return the JSON directly back. Okay, but anyway, I don't want to show you that. I just want you to show you how to return a hello.jsp. Okay, and this message will be displayed here. Right now we are in the controller. Now we triggered hello and the flow is coming into hello. Now from controller, I want to go to this JSP, right? I just want to instruct Spring saying that, can you please render this JSP? Can you please render this JSP and show this message? Right? This kind of process, when you would like to instruct, right? When you would like to instruct, then you will configure this view resolver. Then only you configure this view resolver. So what will happen when you return hello? When you return hello from controller, right? So your Spring application will check, is there any resolver? View resolver is configured. Yeah, we configured internal resource view resolver. So we are returning hello, right? We are returning hello from JSP sorry, from controller. So yeah, in the internal view resolver, internal resource view resolver, there are two properties. One is the prefix and another one is suffix. So the prefix will be kept before the string which we return from controller, and the suffix will be kept after the string which we return. So this become full part webinf pages hello.jsp. So by taking the help of this internal resource view resolver, Spring will understand, oh, okay, I have to render the hello.jsp. How it is identifying that part? By using prefix and suffix. So we are returning only hello. We return only hello, but hello.jsp, which is present inside webinf pages folder, right? Webinf pages folder, hello.jsp. Here we have hello.jsp is getting rendered. So how it is exactly getting rendered? Just because of this prefix and suffix. Okay, so when I run this code, this is what is the page. Hello.jsp is the page which we're gonna see. Okay, hello.jsp is the page which we're gonna see, and the message which we are setting in the model, right, will be displayed over there. So when we run this code, so first of all, the web.xml file will be loaded. As part of web.xml file, it will go and load this dispatcher servlet. Right? Again, the old life cycle, servlet class loading, servlet object creation, and everything is going to be happen. And finally, as part of initialization, servlet initialization, servlet dispatcher servlet will start loading this configuration. Right? Will start loading this configuration into Spring. So as part of the configuration, we configured component scan. So all the controller, service, component repositories will be loaded, and we are enabling MVC. And at last, we are configuring some internal resource view resolver, how it's going to be used. For example, if you return a string, from controller, so Spring will take help from this internal resource view resolver, and it appends the prefix and suffix, and it will finally identify which JSP page it has to render, and that corresponding JSP page will be rendered and displayed to the customer. Any doubts?
Sunil, how that can you go to web.xml once? Yeah, application context, like at what time it will get loaded when dispatcher servlet will get initialized?
No, it's like normal servlet. Yesterday when our servlet got initialized, the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay,
the
okay.
configuration will load. Um, the configuration will be loaded, right? The configuration will be loaded when the Spring configuration will be loaded as part of initialization execution. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, one.
Yeah. Do we need to call it or automatically, because init param, right? It is like
It will be. It is written. The code is written in dispatcher servlet. You don't need to call.
Oh, okay. Code is there. That's why I was thinking like we have to call that, right?
No, no, no.
Okay.
If you want to read that string, then only you have to call.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. One more thing I want to share you. Let me pause. Yeah. The only difference is you may not be good that much in the core concepts. Okay. So what is exactly happening in the background, you may not be able to understand that much, but still you can able to write if you understood only Spring Boot MVC. For sure you will understood that, because it's going to be pretty easy. That any like non-IT guy also can write the Spring Boot MVC RESTful web services. Okay, so if you just know the plain Java, by spending some 1 week, 10 days time, you can simply write a Spring Boot MVC application for sure. Okay, yeah. But anyway, we are learning Spring MVC, XML configuration, Java configuration, and finally we are going for Spring Boot. That's why it looks like a little heavy. Yeah. If you just get the information, it's fine. Try to grab as much as possible, so it will be useful. If it is making you a lot confusion, still it is fine. No, don't worry. Okay, we will use Spring Boot for our microservices development, not Spring MVC. So you don't need to worry about it. Okay, at least the microservices development point. Okay, let's come back. Yeah, so we are done with this, right? Yeah, so we need to run this application on server, right? How we run yesterday on Tomcat server. The same way we need an explicit server to run this application. We just right click, run as server. Yeah, we already configured Tomcat. Next, finish. Okay, we configured load and startup, right? We configured load and startup. Then you notice that dispatcher servlet will be loaded, right? So the dispatcher servlet is loaded as part of servlet loading itself. Okay. Yeah, as part of servlet loading itself, the dispatcher servlet is fully loaded into the memory. The demo servlet, which is our dispatcher servlet, and it loads the XML configuration also, right? XML configuration also loaded. As part of XML configuration, it registers what controller, what is the URL pattern, right? There are so many things are registered here, right? URL pattern, what is that controller, what is the method, everything is registered. And finally it takes care about that view resolver also, right? It loads the view resolver. Yeah, see the mapping. Hello for get mapping, hello for get mapping, hi for get mapping. right? Hello for get mapping, hi for get map. Okay, so you see this word, it's very very important. One is a handler, one is a, okay, I will tell that later. Okay, yeah, so you see, so this dispatcher servlet is loaded at this application startup time itself, and the configuration also loaded, and the mappings also done, right? The mappings also done. So hello goes to get mapping, and which method? Hello controller that say hello. Hi get mapping, and it goes to hello controller say hi method. Are you able to follow me what I'm trying to say? When we send this URL, it is executing this method. When we send this URL, it is executing this method, right? All these mappings are done at the time of application server deployment time itself, right? So this is servlet 2.5. The same thing is going to happen in Spring Boot also, right? The same kind of mapping. At least the architecture is still same. Okay, now let's clear this console and just send some request, right? So what is the request? You need to send hello. Sorry, type on this. Okay, so whatever the message we return from controller. Yeah, so this message, welcome to Spring MVC, and that is going to be rendered in the hello.jsp, this hyphens, right? Whatever you are saying, you are just saying just because of hello.jsp render. If we send hi, it goes to hi message, right? Hi, hello my dears, welcome to Spring MVC. This is not Spring Boot, Spring MVC. Okay. So this is how we do write our Spring MVC application using Servlet 2.5. Servlet 2.5, you have to write web.xml file, you have to add the dependencies, you have to add it, whether it's a Java configuration or XML configuration. The only thing which is going to be changed is XML, right? XML. And if you write XML, I mean, if it is a Servlet 2.5, you have only one way, right? XML configuration is the way you have to start, right? XML configuration is the way you have to start. Okay. So this is how we do configure XML configuration. Let's go to the Java configuration. Why we have to? Let me check. Okay. I think.
There is a difference in name. Hyphen is missed for one project.
No. One is Spring MVC Java config. One is Spring MVC Java config. But actually, I said right, in Java config also there are two categories we have: XML configuration, Java configuration. Okay. So dispatcher servlet, yeah, web application initializer. This particular part, it's an alternative for web.xml file, right? This particular part is alternative for web.xml file, but still you need to write some Spring configuration, right? Still you need to write some Spring configuration. Even in the last example, we wrote that application config.configuration file, right? So in the webinf config folder, so this application context.xml file, right? So this configuration, yeah, this configuration you have to write. Okay, this configuration you have to write. So in Java configuration there are two ways you can do. In Java configuration there are two ways you can do. One is you can do XML configuration, right? So that spring configuration alone we will write it in XML. Okay, that Spring configuration alone we will write XML. Okay, so better we will change this naming convention: Spring MVC Java config -XML. And it's pretty confusing naming convention. Right? Because in the Java configuration we have two variations, right? Java config -Java. Yeah, so it's Java config -Java. It's full Java configuration, right? The dispatcher servlet configuration is Java configuration, and the Spring configuration also Java configuration. It's full of
Okay.
Java configuration. Okay, whereas the Spring MVC Java config XML, right? So only the dispatcher servlet part alone we will configure through web application initializer, but Spring configuration we will write still XML configuration. I know for sure you will not understand this. Yeah, yeah, see this, right? Web config. Yeah, this is what I'm talking. Okay, so we are registering dispatcher servlet, right? We are registering dispatcher servlet. Right? We are registering dispatcher servlet. Yeah. Yeah, we are registering dispatcher servlet, but my Spring configuration, right? We are writing XML configuration, annotation configuration, Java configuration, our day one example. How many ways we can write our Spring configuration? In 3 ways, right? So if you would like to use XML configuration, if you would like to use XML configuration, then you have to do this. Okay, dispatchers. So no web.xml file. See, in the Java config XML, no web.xml file. See, there is no web.xml file, but my Spring configuration is in XML configuration. So without a web.xml file, if you want to do an XML configuration, then you do this. Okay, so you write a class which implements web application initializer. You don't need to do any extra configuration. It will be automatically registered by the Tomcat container. Okay, this will be automatically registered by the Tomcat container. So it's our old controller only, but this time it's no JSP, nothing. It's a plain microservice. Right? It's a simple microservice. We will return a string directly to the customer, right? We will return a string, no JSP. Last time we rendered JSP something we did. Somehow it got deprecated now. No more JSPs now. No more JSPs. Only we're gonna return JSON data or XML data from our microservices. Earlier, we used to develop full web application using Java, right? Some JSP, some view, some rendering, something was there. But now Java is restricted only for services purpose, right? Only for RESTful web services, SOAP web services. So we're gonna return, right? We're gonna return either JSON data or XML data or some text data. We will return directly. No JSP, no rendering, nothing was there. Okay, that concept is fully gone now. We're gonna return a string data. Okay, so I'm just slowly taking you to RESTful web services. Okay, so first example we saw with the JSP, right? So that is the older way of doing the things, but now Java is restricted only for microservices, right? Only for writing services. From your service, you return some data. The data can be in a JSON format or XML format or text format, or it can be an image. It's fine. But finally, you return the data. You don't render. Render part will be taken care by Angular or React or some latest technology. Right now, these days, all are Angular or React. No JSP, nothing. Okay, so the first example I showed you, which is a bit older one, like 5 to 10 years before we used to do that. But now Java is purely dedicated to the microservices. So you're gonna return some data. That's why we are directly returning string, and we're gonna use REST controller. Okay, we're gonna use REST controller. Okay. So this is how we do configure dispatcher servlet. So this is equivalent to web.xml file. This Java file equivalent to writing web.xml file, and we do configure dispatcher servlet. We do configure dispatcher servlet, and this is our main business logic class, and we are using XML configuration. Again, we need server to run this application. Right click, run and server. Next, finish. Okay, yeah, this time also the dispatchers are loaded and fully ready. Now we can directly send the request. So what is the configuration we did? Hello, right? Excuse me. Yeah, we need to give the servlet path. Sorry, it should end with the dot n, right? .in. That's why the request. Config /.n. Okay, fine. Spring MVC Java config.xml. Okay. Hello.in. I think some server cache problem. 1 second. Let me fix this issue. Okay. Yeah. So whenever we are working with this external servers, there is one small problem. Let's go to the servers. Go to configuration. Open this server.xml file. I think Eclipse. Go to servers. Yeah, server.xml file. You do see that context. Okay, context true. Yeah, just now it got added, right? So let me delete this context. Spring MVC Java -config -xml. Yeah, this is the context part. That is a problem. It looks okay. Hello control. In the XML, what is the base package we give? Com Spring MVC MSK. Yeah, Com Spring MVC MSK. Okay. Hello. Goes to say hello. And we should get this message returned back. Yeah. Okay, everything looks good. What is the problem? Context we are loading and we are passing the context. Yeah, context registration. Okay. This looks good. Here we are configuring two dispatches. Okay, one is for .in, one is for .in. It's fine. Load and start up dispatcher. 404 hello.in message. Context path and no servlet path, right? Yeah, no servlet path. It's /.in. Maybe this is name, right? This is the name, right? Let's try this way. One and server. Okay, next. Finish. Should be hello.in. Okay. The request itself is not coming. Right? Let's go to browser and try. Spring MVC Java config -xml hello.in. Things looks good. I don't see any issue. Let's do one mistake and see whether it's loading or not. Check it out. Right click. Run as. So that XML file is loading. Good. Okay, so it's loading that XML file not found exception. Yes, so it's going and loading that. So it should be hello controller. When we send hello, yes, hello, that should be executed. Public hello controller. Okay, let's debug the application. Why it's not working, right? So we'll check whether it is getting instantiated or not. So we'll add some sysout to understand whether the flow is coming here or not. Right. So hello controller. Okay. So let's delete this. Spring MVC Java config XML run as run server, save all, finish. Yeah, hello controller object created. Good. Hello controller object created. So when we send hello.in, so go to console. I think that method is getting executed. Huh? No.
Can you remove that
When we
servlet,
send
that application name
which one?
from the URL? Just try with the dispatcher /hello.in instead of
That is just a name. No, we need to give context path. Whenever you are deploying it on the external server, we need to give. Okay. If it is an external Tomcat, it was a working example. One second. There's some kind of overlook. I'm just doing it. So request mapping hello. And this is not getting executed, right? Hello.
Go to configuration plus.
No. It's an XML configuration. This one. It is XML loaded .in.
Here you are specifying /.in, right?
Yeah. I think something wrong with this one. Star.in. Mapping is wrong. 1 second. Run as server. Finish. Yeah, this it should be star.in. Anything which ending with this .in we have to consider. If it's .in only .in, then the pattern is wrong. Yeah. After running this, what is the problem? Let me delete this. Just right click. Run as. So I think something wrong with this URL pattern mapping. You need to use star in or something else. The URL pattern mapping is an issue. Illegal argument, URL pattern. Okay, so what we can do, star.in. Anything which is ending with .in you consider. Run as server. Finish. Yeah, just go and click enter to get the response. Okay, one simple star was killing like 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah, I'm just not looking into this. Yeah, some configurations, mapping issue, URL pattern mapping issue. Okay. Yeah, anything which is ending with .in, So we are just sending it, okay? And it's going to be a direct JSON, right? If I you will get better idea when I send the request using Postman. Okay, when I send this request, you see the header parameters. Okay, it's a plain text, right? It's a plain text, and it's this is what we are getting from the server. Let's go to the last example. You see some difference. You know, instead of getting the text, you see some HTML render, right? HTML render. So how that HTML is getting rendered when we use JSP? So again, the JSP will be rendered by JSP engine. It's going to be rendered by JSP engine. Finally, it will generate some HTML content and it will be sending back to the client. So that was some old story. When we are doing, I mean, Java, when we are using Java for UI development, we used to use JSPs, but now no JSPs. Okay, yeah, now two applications deployed. So first application we're gonna get plain text. The second application, what was the URL that Spring MVC XML configuration, right? Spring MVC, not Java. It's going to be XML icon config. Yeah, it's hello, right? Yeah, hello. So if I send this through Postman, you see a clear difference. Here you will get HTML response render, right? See some HTML body, it's actually HTML. So whenever we are playing with the JSPs, so you will get HTML response. Whenever we play with pure RESTful web services, it's not REST HTML. It's going to be some text or some JSON, some XML file. Okay. So if it is an HTML, then browser will understand that HTML tags and it will be rendering as a HTML page. But when it is coming to RESTful web services, we don't return any HTML render. We return plain data. So that HTML render part is going to be taken care by the UI technologies like Angular, React, right? Vue.js. So some latest frameworks which are playing major role, right? So those technologies will take care of it. Yeah. So that is what is the difference between using JSP and RESTful web services. Okay. So we saw example with one XML and XML configuration, Java and XML configuration. Now Java and Java configuration, right? Java and Java configuration. So now no XML, it's a pure Java, right? It's going to be a pure Java example. So no XML. See, no web.xml, no any Spring configuration XML also. So the configuration looks something like this, right? This time we're gonna use this time we're gonna use annotation configuration. Sorry, this is what is. Yeah, it's a pure annotation configuration. Okay, pure annotation configuration. Here we're gonna have our Java configuration. So last time we saw some Spring XML configuration, right? So now no Spring XML configuration. It's a pure Java configuration. Okay, pure Java configuration. So we will discuss all this later. So for now, you focus only on enable MVC, enable web MVC, or else let's go to last example and change that to Java configuration. Okay. So in the last example, here we are using XML configuration, right? If it is Java configuration, then we use annotation config Java configuration, annotation config Java configuration, and here you need to write application config, right? Application config, because in Spring XML configuration, you are doing some XML configuration, right? So you are enabling, I mean, context component scan, you are using MVC annotation trigger, right? Which we are enabling MVC, right? Which we are enabling MVC. So the same thing we have to do it using Java configuration. So let's go ahead and create one class. Let's go ahead and create one class called application context. Sorry, application config. Yes. Okay, application config. Yeah, so this is the Java configuration. Then you have to add it configuration. Now you need to enable it component scan. Okay, it component scan. Then you need to enable web MVC. Okay, these three annotations. Then it's enable web MVC. Yeah, enable web MVC. So these three annotations we have to use. Okay, so then it's going to be pure Java configuration. It's going to be pure Java configuration, and here we will pass. Yeah, we'll use our context. Okay, so that app context we pass to dispatcher servlet. So now 0 XML, right? 0 XML, no servlet XML, no, this is not required. Okay. No servlet, no web.xml file, no Spring configuration XML file. It's a pure Java, everything, right? No web.xml file, no Spring configuration XML file. It's a full Java annotation, but make sure your Java annotation is enabling Spring Web MVC and component scan. So, right, that is what we did in the XML configuration also. MVC, component scan, and MVC declaration enablement, right? So you do these two annotations. At least you must add these two annotations: component scan and enable MVC. And as this is a configuration file, you have to annotate it with a configuration file. So now it's going to be full of Java configuration. Now it's going to be full of Java configuration. If we run the code, we will get still same output, but it's going to be pure 100% Java configuration, pure 100% Java configuration, right? So minimum to minimum, if it is Servlet 3.0, minimum to minimum, which is the latest also. Servlet 3.0 is the very latest. So minimum to minimum, this configuration you have to do. If you go with the pure Java configuration, right, full Java configuration, still what you need to do? You need to do this configuration. Minimum, a class which implements web application initializer, and a class which has these three annotations: configuration, component scan, enable web MVC. Right? Instead of remembering all these XML files, blah blah blah, at least this is little comfort, right? As we Java guys, right? As we already know Java, so how to do just a class which implements web application initializer and provide implementation for on startup. So create object for application annotation web application context and register this on app config.class, and you create dispatcher servlet and configure dispatcher servlet. Okay, configure dispatcher servlet. So and your application configuration should annotated with three annotations. So minimum this configuration you have to do at least. So let's run this for one more time. Run as server finish. It's the same application, right? Same URL. Yeah, there is one small problem actually. Controller is present inside a different package, right? So if you don't specify the base package is this, and from here it will scan the sub packages. But unfortunately, this controller is present in a different package. So I should give that package. Yeah. Okay. Or else we need to move this out of this config folder. Okay, we need to move this out of this config folder. So we should keep the application config in the root folder. That is good practice. So select components scan. And no need to specify any particular package. It will take care about all the packages, right? So from the base package to all the sub packages, it will take care of. It will scan and it will take care about all the stereotype annotations. Okay. Last time these two are two different packages, so a component scan will not work. So that's why we did that change and run as server. Next, finish. Yeah, now see controller printed. Last time it was not printed. Yeah, just go to URL and just type hello.in. Okay, you see that this is printed. So it's a pure Java configuration. It's a pure 100% Java configuration, 0 XML, right? It's a plain Java code with servlet 3 integration with Spring MVC. such a rare combination. This even Google also you can't identify this kind of example, man, for sure. XML configurations like Servlet 3, Servlet 2.5 XML configuration, Servlet 3 XML configuration, Servlet 3 Java configuration with Spring Java configuration. So these many variations, even in Google you can't able to identify. Like you can get so many Spring Boot examples, but this old way, right? So for sure you will not get any example in the Google. Okay. uh, let's come back. So with this, we are done with the Spring MVC. So in Spring MVC, there are multiple ways we can configure. Servlet based on Servlet version 1 configuration. It's a 2.5, it's an XML configuration. Then we do use web.xml file. If it is Servlet 3, then there are two ways you can configure. One is XML configuration and another one is the Java configuration. But that is not our goal, right? We have to jump into Spring Boot. So when you go to Spring Boot, all these concepts will not be there, right? You just can we create a fresh one, or can I show you already created one? Which one you feel better?
Create a new one.
Create a new one. Okay. So let's go to file, new. I'm just choosing Spring Starter project. In the company, it won't be possible. You have to create a Maven project and convert into Spring Boot, as we are just doing practice on local machine. That's why I'm choosing Spring Starter project. Just select this. Okay. So let's give Spring Boot. I mean, MSK, right? Spring Boot MSK.web. Yeah, that's group ID. It's not client, right? Spring Boot MVC. Yeah, we don't have any project Spring Boot MVC, so let's keep, right? So or else Spring Boot MVC hyphen my first hyphen Spring Boot MVC, right? My first hyphen Spring Boot MVC. So my first Spring Boot MVC application. Okay, the root package is Spring Boot MSK MVC. We are going to use Java 8 version, and we're going to package that into into um, jar file. Okay, and we are developing using Java. Okay, click next, and we're going to use Spring Boot version as 2.2.7. So we're going to add web, right? We're going to add web. Only one dependency, web dependency. Next, finish. So it will take a while to create this project. I did this for so many times, that's why it would be little fast in my local, but in your machine maybe it take some time, like couple of minutes to download all the required libraries. For me it's done, right? So where is the project? Spring Boot MVC. Yeah, my first, not my first. Where is my first Spring MVC?
Next to that, Sunil.
Yeah, this one. Yeah. Okay. And you no need to worry about any package structure and all. It will automatically created by Eclipse, right? Eclipse, and it will also create one application. That application is annotated with Spring Boot application. Spring Boot application. So what you can do, you directly jump into writing your controller, right? So our favorite controller, Hello World controller. So just demo purpose, okay? Demo purpose, and just controller. Yeah. Annotate this class with rest controller. Write a method. Public. We're gonna return some message. Right? That is like say hello. So we're gonna return. Okay. We're gonna return. Hello. Welcome to okay. Some message. And just start doing the mapping. Okay, what request I gonna send? I mean, what is the URL pattern for this method, right? So we send hello, obviously, we get that message. And just move this into a different package, controller. Don't put that in the base package, okay? Control. That is good practice. Whether you believe or not, we are done with writing service. No web.xml file, no application, no web initializer, no dispatches or nothing. Okay, we are done. No server also. Let me go to server and delete server. Really better external server. Okay, we are done. The only thing which we added in this pom.xml file also only one dependency. What is that? Starter web starter, right? It's like full pakka non-veg starter. It will take care everything. Spice, right? Spices, sorrow, everything it will take care about it. So we no need to worry server and all. Just focus directly writing a RESTful web services. Just run this. Okay, how you gonna run this? No server, nothing, right? So you're gonna run this as a standalone Java application. Run as Java application. Pretty straightforward. Run as Java application. Just hold for a second to application gets started, server started. Just go to browser or Postman, whatever it is. No context path, nothing. Localhost 8080/hello. Okay. You see
Neil,
the
will it
message.
have a Tomcat embedded?
Yeah, I will cover. Okay, we will discuss what is the movie happening in the background, right? What is the movie happening in the background? We will discuss. But at very high level, it looks like no server, nothing, right? No server, nothing. But you send the request, you get the response. Okay. So it looks like we don't have any server, but that is not the scenario. Okay. Whatever the configuration you wrote just few minutes before the Java configuration, instead of you are doing that, it's been taken care by Spring Boot. It's been taken care by Spring Boot. Okay. Let me go back to a Spring Boot documentation and I will tell you one topic I told you I will cover after some time. Whether you remembered or not, I do still remember that. Okay, in the reference documentation, one particular part in the using Spring Boot, okay, auto configuration, right? I hope you would recollect it now. You recollect it. I told this particular part I told that time this part we will discuss when we started writing our first RESTful web service, right? So today we wrote our first RESTful web service using Spring Boot. Then it's time to discuss about this auto configuration. Okay. So whatever the code you written few minutes before that web application initializer, right? Web application initializer, where is that? In the Java configuration, right? Web application initializer and yeah, this WebMVC components can already components can we know, right? That is there in the Spring Boot application itself. So enabling this WebMVC and yeah, registering dispatcher servlet. Now it's being taken care by Spring Boot. Then where is that code? How exactly Spring Boot is taking care of that particular part? Just go to Maven dependencies. Please be focused, guys. Please be focused. Go to Maven dependencies. There is a particular dependency called auto configurer, right? Particular dependency called auto configurer. So what this auto configurer jar has, there are so many configurations already written by the Spring. There are so many configurations automated by the Spring Boot, right? So for example, right now we are doing web, right? Just go to web. So right now we are doing web. So let's go to web. It's not web, web MVC, web servlet. Yeah, there we go. Web servlet. So go to web servlet. So then you notice that one class, right? Dispatcher servlet auto configuration. So this is the class which takes care about configuring dispatcher servlet to our web application, right? So it will create object for dispatcher servlet and it will set the dispatcher servlet as a friend controller, right? You no need to do it anything. Whatever you did it few minutes before, it's done by Spring Boot in a perfect, efficient manner, right? Whatever we did, it's not a fully equipped Spring MVC. So when it is coming to the Spring Boot, it's like fully equipped, right? It takes care about so many things, right? So many options they configure by defaultly, and your application, for your application, there is one servlet which is configured by default by the Spring Boot. It's the same servlet, dispatcher servlet. Okay, just instead of you are doing that configuration, it's going to be taken care by Spring Boot. Instead of you are doing that configuration, it's going to be taken care by Spring Boot. Okay, and we need a server to run any servlet application, right? That is for that was there since 20 years onwards, right? For like 20 years we are running our servlet applications on servers. So few minutes before also we did that, but the only difference in Spring Boot, now that server also get packaged in your Spring Boot application. You just scroll down somewhere, you see Tomcat embedded, right? Tomcat, yes, Tomcat, right? So now your Spring Boot application has an inbuilt server called Tomcat, which is embedded with your application itself. So if you write one Spring Boot application, one Tomcat server is associated. If you write 10 Spring Boot applications, so you have 10 Tomcat servers are associated with it. Okay, so each and every Spring Boot application, if it is a web dependency, not web dependency, you don't get Tomcat. I'm talking about web, Spring Boot web MVC. So by defaultly, there is one Tomcat server associated with that, right? There is a Tomcat server by defaultly associated with that. So your application is going to be deployed, right? Your application is going to be deployed by defaultly on that embedded Tomcat server, and this embedded Tomcat server will run on default port 8080. And whatever the configuration you did few minutes before, it's a kind of same configuration, same dispatcher servlet, right? Same dispatcher servlet, but the URL pattern is going to be slash, right? Friend controller, it accepts every request, right? Every request which is coming to Spring Boot, it goes to Spring dispatcher servlet, and no context path, right? No context path. Whenever you are deploying it on the external Tomcat server, we need a Tomcat context path. But when we are deploying in an embedded Tomcat server, we don't need any context path. That's the reason why we are directly calling localhost 8080/hello. So no context path. If you want to give context path, you can give, no problem at all, no doubt, you can give the context path, but by defaultly no context path. So whatever we run few minutes before from Postman, right? We got some response, right? So this structure both are same, right? It is a simple servlet application, and again this is a simple servlet application, right? Spring MVC servlet application, Spring Boot MVC servlet application. It is running on Tomcat. It is running on Tomcat. But the difference is this is an external Tomcat server. This is an embedded Tomcat server. Okay, this is an external Tomcat server. This is an embedded Tomcat server. As this is an external Tomcat server, we need to give the context part. As this is an embedded servlet Tomcat server, we don't need to give the context part. But it is the same dispatcher servlet, same servlet API, right? So dispatcher servlet is nothing but a servlet, right? It's the same servlet API, nothing new, right? So same architecture, it will be running on same server. But the problem here is you no need to take care about those things. Spring Boot will automatically configure all those things for you. So what is the benefit you're gonna get if you're using Spring Boot? You directly focus on writing business logic. Right? You, instead of focusing on configuring dispatcher servlet, configuring server, configuring context path, right? Instead of you are focusing on those things, as a developer, you directly start focusing on the business logic, right? So the remaining things will automatically taken care of with the Spring Boot. That feature is called as auto configuration, right? So this particular part I told you, this particular auto configuration part I told you we will discuss when we jump into our first RESTful web service. Okay, so not only for dispatcher servlet, there are so many auto configurations are available, right? For database connectivity, you don't need to do anything. You just give username, password, URL where the database is running, then Spring Boot will automatically connect to the database. right? So there are so many auto configurations are available. This is one of the uh, like strongest feature, right? The most awaiting feature from the Spring Boot. Auto configuration. You just keep the library in the class path, right? Servlet library automatically dispatches servlet will automatically configure. So you no need to remember what are all the jars required. So you just add the starter, a simple starter, web starter. So internally there are so many jars are going to be added, right? So web jar, web MVC jar, context jar, EL jar, AOP jar. You just scroll down. There are so many jars are going to be added here. All these are starters. Go. Yeah. So here you somewhere you see. Let me search Spring hyphen web. You see Spring web. Yeah, Spring web. Right. What version we are using? 5.2.6. Spring web MVC. Okay. Even using Spring context also. There are so many interrelated jars. You don't need to remember all those jars management. But if it is a plain Spring MVC application, you have to take care about jars also. But when it is coming to Spring Boot, you don't need to take care any jars management. You just add only one starter. What is the starter? Web starter. Okay, this web starter will take care about everything, managing the dependencies, configuring the dispatcher servlet, deploying the application in the Tomcat, running your Tomcat, everything will automatically take care by the Spring Boot. Okay, everything is going to be taken care automatically by the Spring Boot. So now you understood, right? What is the benefit you're gonna get if you use Spring Boot? I'm just thinking. That's why I spent this many hours and shuffling then and there and here and showing XML, Java configuration, MVC configuration. Now I hope you understood what is the benefit. If it is not a Spring Boot application, how much time it would be taking for you to write the Spring MVC? At least if it is a plain MVC application, it would be good. But whenever you are doing a database integration, it is a plain Spring MVC application, you will really you really feel like kind of hell. There are so many dependencies you need to add and you need to add them manually. It's really a nightmare developing a Spring MVC application with the data integration. So that's why we have this Spring Boot, which is really kind of like a kind of dream for the developers, right? Focusing only on the business logic, the entire configuration is going to be taken care of by the Spring Boot. At least I hope you really feel today somewhat you really feel the benefit you're going to get using Spring Boot. When we started with Spring Boot, you might have feel Java itself is easy, but now at least you might see some kind of difference why the world is using Spring Boot.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what about others? Still is it is a confusing topic for you? Okay, till now whatever I showed for your understanding purpose, right? Why we are using Spring Boot, for that, to answer that question, we spent these many hours, like Servlet, Spring MVC. But still we not covered Spring MVC life cycle. I will cover how exactly we send the request, but how the request is coming to this controller and executing, right? So till now we understood to get do post level, we understood in Servlet lifecycle how the do get to do post is getting executed. We learned as part of Servlet lifecycle, but we don't know how this hello method, say hello method is executing when we send hello. You are, it is not do get, it is not do post. That we need to understand. If you are interested, I will cover. Then otherwise I will jump into the next topic. Do we need to understand how
Yeah.
this say hello is getting executed, the flow architecture? Okay, it is very very important. Yes, we reach it to do get and do post, but how this say hello is getting executed, that we will learn tomorrow. But I hope you started understanding the benefit you're gonna get with Spring Boot. Okay. And going forward, everything is Spring Boot. I don't write Spring MVC servlet. It's going to be straightforward Spring Boot RESTful web services. Okay. Tomorrow, I'll make you to write our first microservice. for some mobile, some kind of mobile application. Okay, you have to do hands-on. So make your systems ready and install Java. If it is not installed, install Eclipse and install um, yeah, some MVC, I'm sorry, Maven installation not required. So make your systems ready. Tomorrow we're going to do our first um, uh, microservice hands-on. But before that, I will make you understand from do get to how this hello mapping is coming, right? Do get. So no exception. Even dispatcher servlet will have do get and do post only. Okay. Let's control shift T. So dispatcher. Yeah. It's loading from this MVC. Let me close these projects. Okay. Close projects. Control shift T. This batch. Okay. Now you see the source code. Here you see some kind of do get do post and all. Okay, don't worry. But the flow will be a little different. Okay, it won't come to this do get and do post. Okay, it won't come to this do get and do post. So the things will be taken care in a different way. Okay, the things will be taken care of in a different way. So no more do get or no more do post. So only the request mapping and latest version of Spring MVC provided HTTP protocol specific request mapping. No more request mapping. Also going forward, it's going to be direct get mapping. HTTP method specific request mapping annotations are available. So you see get mapping, post mapping, put mapping. That is what we're going to use. No request mapping also. So request mapping is a generic one. So you have to specify which method which it has to be supported. For example, if it is a post mapping, then request mapping, then here you need to specify method equals to first value equals to this and method equals to request method dot post. Then only this method will executed for post. Otherwise, it will consider this is a get method, right? So this extra configuration specifying post and all not required. So we have direct get mapping, post mapping. That is what we're going to use going forward. We will see all those examples tomorrow. Okay, so tomorrow we will try to understood when we send a request to do get and do post. That is what we know. But how this say hello method is executing, right? That particular part we're going to understood tomorrow. And tomorrow we will be starting writing our first microservice. Okay, first microservice. So we will start with some theory, then we will understand all this life cycle, then finally we will start writing the first microservice. Any question before we wind up the session?